Epilogue. Echoes of defiance.
A hushed murmur stirred the stale air as Dawn's tentative fingers brushed the tops of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The rebels, my sons among them, had gathered in the dimness of our hidden base, a place I'd never step foot in again. I watched through the digital eye they didn't know I had access to, my heart aching with a bittersweet poison of pride and despair.
"Play it again,"
Tommy said low and strained, like someone trying to breathe through grief. He sat at the metal table in the command center as the room fell silent. On the large screen, my last public moments replayed. My choice to face Pilatus, to expose his lies, to set the truth aflame even as my body burned with it. The screams, the light. The moment I gave everything to save them, to show the world what monsters we were, to save my sons, even if it cost me everything. My breath hitched at the memory. The echo of my heartbeat still throbbed in my ears.
"Look at her,"
I heard Danny whisper, his voice cracking.
"She knew what it meant, and she did it anyway."
My breath caught. I swallowed. The stone walls of my cell seemed to press closer, the cost of my choice wrapping around my ribs like iron bands, and sat heavy on my chest, like the earth had already claimed me. They didn't need a martyr. They needed a mother, a leader. But all I could give them was a spark in the darkness, a spark to ignite their revolution.
"Mom, she..."
Danny couldn't finish, his voice trailing off into the silence that enveloped them, enveloped me.
"Is there even a war left to fight?"
Cherry's voice broke the silence, sharp and bitter.
"We thought we understood the enemy. Sunlight doesn't kill them. They've been lying about that too."
Her eyes were twin pools of loss and anger.
"Sunlight kills some of them,"
Danny responded.
"But not the ones we needed to kill.
Cherry stated.
Not the ones in charge. Not Pilatus."
"Understanding changes nothing about our cause,"
Tommy replied, his tone as firm as it was hollow. He watched as his brother stood and paced the confines of the room, each step a measured beat in the silence that followed before continuing.
"We adapt. We evolve. Just like they do."
"You say that, but what if she's changed? What if she's on their side now?"
Cherry whispered, her gaze fixed on the frozen image of Sage.
"She taught us everything we know.
Danny cut in, pacing.
She was the rebellion."
"She was the deadliest warrior we had. Hell, she taught us all. What if we have to face her across the battlefield?"
Cherry whispered.
"Then we do what must be done."
Tommy's expression didn't change. His voice did. It dropped into something darker.
"For the rebellion, for humanity, even if it means..."
"Killing our own mother,"
Danny finished. Tommy rose, pushing his chair back with a scraping sound that sliced through the gloom. He stood at the center of their pain, their purpose, casting a long silhouette in the flickering light.
"What my mother did wasn't about dying for the cause,"
he said.
"It was about living for it, about making us believe in something bigger than survival. Now it's our job to carry the fire."
His green eyes, so like mine, blazed with an inner fire.
"She lit the way for us, for all those out there who can now see the truth."
On the screen, my burning body flickered into static, but in that static, fresh voices rose across the world, whispers in cathedrals, in alleys, in resistance bunkers. Vampires and humans alike passed my story like a torch in the dark. Images flashed in my mind's eye, scenes of a world beyond these four walls. Humans and vampires alike, united by the story of a woman who dared defy an empire. They didn't know me, but they carried my resolve, my hope, as their banner.
Across the dark web, messages are pouring in. Stories of defiance, of courage sparked by sage's sacrifice. She's ignited something far bigger than any of us could have hoped for.
Tommy continued, conviction lending strength to his voice.
She's being called a prophet in Madrid,
Said one rebel.
A martyr in Johannesburg,
Said another. The air felt thick with anticipation, the energy of the room shifting towards something new, something potent. Their faces revealed loss, but also a growing sense of purpose.
Her name is being whispered in every corner where the Empire casts its shadow,
Tommy said.
She's become the cause.
His words were heavy with conviction, each one a weight that anchored their determination and gave it strength.
Our fight has only just begun.
I closed my eyes, letting my son's words wash over me. I leaned back in my cell, staring at nothing. I could almost smell the air outside, taste the mountain wind on my tongue, feel the solidarity of those gathered in my name. For them, I was a beacon. But here, in the darkness, I was still Sage Steele, still a mother, still a captive, still a monster, still the ember of a cause that would burn everything false to ash.
Across the globe, rebellion flared like brush fire, a patchwork quilt of resistance stitched together by shared outrage and newfound courage. In the winding alleys of Paris, whispers echoed off cobblestone streets as humans passed clandestine leaflets, their determined eyes alight with a radical glow. High above the cityscape, a renegade vampire perched atop the gutted cathedral of Notre Dame, casting a glance at the horizon. The promise of dawn no longer a harbinger of death, but a call to arms. In the sprawling metropolis of Tokyo, where buzzing neon lights battled with the darkness, a huddle of insurgents gathered in an underground bunker. A human hand clasped that of a vampire's, former predator and prey united by a common cause, their silent nod signaling the start of sabotage against the Empire's oppressive machinations. Half a world away, the dusty plains of the African Sahel bore witness to a lone figure standing defiantly atop a rocky outcrop, with eyes that had seen centuries and a heart ignited with the fires of rebellion. A vampire chieftain with silver dreadlocks called his clan to war against their makers, urging them to break the chains Pilatus had forged from fear and servitude. Each act, each whisper of truth, each flare of violence was a ripple expanding across the ocean of subjugation the Crimson Empire had so meticulously cultivated. The mighty Emperor Pilatus, with his cold blue eyes and calculated grace, could sense the ground quivering beneath his feet, a palpable unease that threatened to crack and crumble his meticulously constructed empire. Each rebellious act was a fissure in the facade, a warning of the coming collapse, and he felt them like distant thunder before the storm.
I leaned against the door of my cell, my head turned toward the opening in the door, out of sight of the camera in the corner above my head. Even though I realized I was a monster, even I had to admit that these ever-increasing vampire powers were kind of awesome. My senses were on fire. The synapses in my brain were firing faster than they had ever fired before. It felt as though I could extract knowledge straight from the molecules in the air. My new senses buzzed with violent clarity. I could smell every drop of blood in the corridor, hear every heartbeat in the wall, So many things made sense now. I couldn't see him, but I could smell him clearly. He was behind me on the other side of this stone hall, watching, waiting. I could hear his heart beating. I suppose you believe I owe you for making yourself scarce when my children came to rescue me. I breathed. A beat of silence. My voice would have been too low for a human to detect, but I knew he heard me. His own reply was just as soft.
Not at all, my lady.
I chuckled briefly, then returned to my previous volume. My lady, how quaint. What a strange way to greet me, Victor. Or would you prefer I call you Longinus? I asked. The words escaped my lips before I knew the truth. That name, Longinus, echoed from a corner of my mind that did not feel like mine, as if the blood in my veins now carried not just power, but memory. Memory not my own? Yes. It was as if I knew so many things now. Upon my words, I felt him tremble through the wall between us. It actually rippled through the stone, as if we were connected somehow.
No,
he whispered, as if the name hurt his bones, as if the name caused immense pain or extreme shame, and even with my enhanced physical gifts, I almost didn't hear his reply. Then how about, I smiled, my whisper like ice, Fang hater?
as you wish. Wraith.
The rebels' meeting neared its end when a soft ping pierced the hush, inconspicuous yet slicing through the tension like a knife. Heads turned toward the source of the sound, an old battered computer sitting on a makeshift table, its screen flashing with the urgency of an incoming transmission.
Is that?
Tommy began, hope threading his voice as he moved in the machine's direction. It had been 2 weeks since they had seen their mother burn, and since then, they hadn't heard a word from her friend.
Only one way to find out.
Danny responded, beating his brother to the computer. His fingers flew across the keyboard, decrypting the coded message with practiced ease.
It looks like it's from Fang Hater, and I think from Mom.
The rebels huddled close, their collective breaths held in suspense. Lines of text bloomed across the screen, a mosaic of letters and numbers piecing together into coherent sentences. As a true meaning emerged, their expressions shifted from confusion to disbelief, then to cautious optimism.
"She's our ally inside the Empire?"
one rebel whispered, voicing the incredulity that gripped them all.
Maybe.
Tommy said, his gaze scanning the screen.
Maybe she's learned something vital about Pilatus's strength.
Notice to the resistance. You now realize that sunlight is no longer the salvation we thought it to be. It is a mirror, and in its light, the monsters wear familiar faces. But not all is lost. Few bloodsuckers can withstand sunlight. Only the first generation, and those they have directly shared their blood with, are completely immune. Still, later generation vampires can attain this ability, though it is temporary. Their immunity is not divine or stolen from Christ. It's engineered, and we, the prey, have always been the key. Understand this crucial truth about our adversaries. In order to bask in the harsh glare of the sun, to wield their uncanny strength and speed, they are bound by a singular need: melatonin. Yes, the same hormone that grants us rest. It shields them, strengthens them. It's like an elixir for them, a potion that keeps their monstrous bodies from igniting under the sun's unforgiving rays. Without it, they burn immediately. Like I did. The fanged monsters we fight don't need us, not to live, only to rule. They don't need human blood, they just want it. They can extract the precious hormone from any creature that roams this earth. But they don't, because to drink from us is to dominate us, to remind us that to them we are livestock. They also understand they could avoid our wrath completely, steer clear of our courageous resistance fighters altogether, if they chose to only feed on beasts instead of us. With their immortality, all they would have to do would be to outlive us. If we die, if we vanish, the next generation and every generation hereafter won't remember freedom. Their lullabies will be obedience, their bedtime stories, rewritten history, and no one will tell them they were ever free. But right now, we, the resistance, we remember. The resistance is legion. We possess the strength not just in numbers, but also an indomitable spirit that no blood monarch can ever hope to extinguish. Our willpower is our greatest weapon, sharper than any blade and stronger than any shield. It is the one thing that will free us from the yoke of slavery and the whims of the empire. You must starve them, cut off their access to their melatonin sources, make them weak again, force the confrontation into the daylight, on our terms. You hold the line between liberty and eternal servitude. Let your courage be the fiery light that guides humanity out from under the thumb of this unending darkness. Stand tall. Stand defiant. The light is ours to reclaim. The Wraith. The room fell silent.
She's inside,
whispered one rebel.
Or she thinks she is,
Cherry muttered.
This could be bait.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves,
cautioned Danny, though his own eyes blazed with hope.
We need to verify this first. Tread carefully.
The room thrummed with whispered questions, but the message's enigmatic nature left much to the imagination. It was a clue, a lifeline thrown into the depths of their despair, hinting at the possibility of turning the tide against their immortal enemy. Tommy's gaze lingered on the ending line. The light is ours to reclaim. With the meeting adjourned, the group dispersed, each member lost in thought, pondering the implications of this mysterious missive. However, Tommy and Danny had one last moment to share, a peaceful contemplation as dawn drew near, something they had done ever since they had lost their mother. They stepped outside their mountain refuge, side by side beneath the trees at the cliff's edge, gazing out over the fog-shrouded peaks that stretched before them. The dark sky painted itself in hues of pink and orange, heralding the new day with a serene beauty that belied the chaos and horror of their world.
What if it's not from Mom?
Danny asked softly.
What if Cherry is right? What if it's a trick?
Tommy shrugged.
We check the accuracy of the information. If it is true, great. We can use it. But you know this doesn't change what we have to do in the end. She wouldn't want to exist like that.
I know,
Danny murmured before leaning against a tree, fists pressed to his forehead, breathing through the grief as if it were poison in his lungs.
She looked right at the sun, Tommy. I know what she was trying to do. It doesn't make it any easier.
Danny's eyes glistened.
She taught us how to live,
He whispered.
how to fight, how to survive. And now we're supposed to kill her?
Tommy didn't answer. He just stepped beside his brother, rested a hand on his back, and let the silence speak for both of them. They both looked off into the distance, absorbed in their own thoughts. Together, they watched the sunrise stretch across the blood-soaked earth, knowing that before the war ended, it would claim what was left of their family, one way or another. And Tommy and Danny steeled themselves for the unthinkable possibility. To save this world, they would have to kill the one person who had taught them to fight for it. And the worst part was, she'd want them to. Rebel recruitment. Final transmission.
You've heard the truth. You've seen the Empire's lies peeled back, layer by layer. You've watched as monsters wore human skin, and heroes became something more. And if you're still here, still breathing, still feeling, then you're one of us now. The Resistance doesn't recruit by force. It calls to those whose blood still remembers what freedom feels like, to those who've lost everything and choose to fight anyway. If your heart shattered when she burned, if your hands clenched when he smiled into the camera, if the words of the Wraith lit something inside you that still hasn't gone out, then listen closely. They don't need us to survive. They want us to kneel. But we remember what it means to stand. Cut off their elixir, burn their shadows, drag them into the light. Because the truth is still ours. And so is the fire. We are the spark. And this is how empires burn. Signed, the Brothers Steele.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this audiobook. I originally wrote this novel in 2010, and doing the audiobook with multiple voices was a lot of work, but totally worth it. It turned out to be a labor of love to make these characters come alive. Please share it with your friends. And don't forget to leave a thumbs up and comment. Likes and positive comments are the lifeblood of independent writers, small publishers, and YouTube creators. And don't forget to subscribe for more audiobooks, boyfriend ASMR videos, music videos, and poetry readings. Want a copy of this book or to read more by VPNightshade? Visit my author page on amazon.com/author/VPNightshade.